This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Well, it is The Basketball Show, and Shane Hill is in the studio.
Hallelujah. Back.
It feels
so good being in here.
It is. It's good
Great
to be
studio.
back. And Director Dave back in the studio as well. The gang's back together.
Yeah. But I'm sooking it up. I had a loss yesterday.
Yeah, tough one.
I give myself and the players 24 hours. After a loss, you're allowed to sook it up for 24 hours, and then you've got to be able to get back on board. So,
Okay,
24 hours is up.
It's probably halfway through recording this show, to be honest.
Yep. I had a sook, and now I'm good to go. Ready for the week.
All right.
Can't wait for the show.
Yes, we've got plenty to get through. It's all thanks to TCL, 2K and Bet with Joel. Let's get straight into the spotlight. Looks like we have been talking about this for years, just about, and that is the fact that we want transparency from clubs in the league about salaries and how much they're spending, just to, I guess, garner a better understanding of teams' performances and win-loss records and all that kind of thing. I guess just from your point of view in coaching the Flames and now being involved with the Kings organisation, what's the feeling like there? Are they happy to speak about this and put this on the table?
Well, I mean, as you say, we've been speaking about this for years. We keep saying that, Cairns fans need to understand if they're spending this much and playing against this much. I don't understand why in Australian sport there's no transparency, particularly in basketball, because in the NBA, it's open book. Everyone knows, everyone talks about it. The expectations are there as well. And, I think from our point of view, and speaking to Paul Smith, is that, this is a development year for us. It's not a big spending year. It's, paving the way for next year and the year after, where we clearly want to win championships. And, this year's a little bit different. So I said to him, why shouldn't we? Why don't we talk and allow our fans to understand about spending and roster management and everything else? And he's on board.
Okay, interesting. I guess from a fan point of view, you've had a number of injuries with the Flames this season. I think it's really important that they understand, because I think I was probably in this category as well. Say import goes down, I would just assume that import is replaced.
Yeah, so for us, Steph Watts does her ACL after one game, and fans probably think, oh, well, she's out, so you use that budget to go and recruit other players. And for us, we've got to, we look after our players, and Steph was a champion, such a good kid, and played really well for us. But that money, we pay her that money, and we now don't have that money to spend.
Yeah.
So when you take what we did spend and hers, we're at 70% of the salary cap, and then Odom gets injured. So now we've got that budget or part of that budget to go and try and recruit. And, I think we're the only team that's gone to the market internationally to try and find players. And some of the NBL teams are finding the same. There's just no players around that either haven't been cut somewhere else or, don't really fit the culture of what you're trying to do. So it's a juggling act. And I think, we're pretty united as a club, from ownership to management to coaching, of understand you've got to put those things in perspective. So for us yesterday, we were at 50% of the cap of what we put in. And from a coaching point of view, you're like, I don't care who's on the court. We can win this game. And probably people outside that room don't believe that. But it's a balancing act of being really positive, but still sending a message that we walk into the locker rooms after having a double-figure lead against 5 Opals. I was so proud of our girls. And that's the balancing act of saying, well, we don't accept losing close. You're not in the game to lose games, but you have to understand and keep hurting people and give them confidence as well, and understand that this is a development year.
Developing year, what, three-year process?
I want a championship within 3 years.
Love that.
That's the plan. I want a championship within 3 years. The club hasn't made the playoffs for the last 4 years, so lofty goals, but that's what we're in it for, is to try and build and develop. And I think we're going to put a lot of time into kids that, our starters yesterday, we only had one starter that started in the NBL last year. So that's great experience for these kids, and that's the mindset and the vision and just what we go with, and, roll it out.
So the Flames and Kings are on board in terms of this transparency. How does it actually happen? Is it up to the league to make the clubs go and do it, or does one club literally have to put it on the table and hope that the others follow suit?
Well, I have nothing to do with the Kings program and what they do and their budget. So it's like I stay away from all the Kings stuff, even it's owned by the Kings. And, we've got our own sort of, internal ways of the way we can manage and whatever else. And, transparency with that's good and communication's good. And, as a coach, you always want more. As a coach, you're like, let me spend the cap. But you've got to buy into the bigger picture of COVID and everything else that's going on and what our plan is, and you've got to be united being able to move forward, and we very much are. But it's good to be able to talk about it because I've been, telling other clubs that they should be. And the fine line with this that I sort of had some sort of reluctance talking about is sounds like you're making excuses as well. It's not an excuse. You got to own your record, and it is what it is. But it's also nice to be able to give fans an insight of how they may not know rosters are constructed as well.
Exactly. No, good on you, and good to start the conversation, continue the conversation, and hopefully we see some changes.
Yeah, well, you will from the Flames, and hopefully we do from the rest of the league, and let's find out what everyone's spending.
Kicking off our TCL starting five with a shout out to Shane Froling, who has made a call to action to get the NBL back to Townsville. So the thought process is, with Perth unable to get back to WA at the moment, why not play a Wildcats home game in Townsville against the Hawks? Now, it's a pretty cool idea. I want you to talk me through why.
Well, I think it's a great idea because Townsville's a great basketball community and was so successful in the NBL. With big crowds back in the 90s and so on. So they've got a fantastic facility that I know that their women's program plays in. I guess the only question that I'd have is the Queensland government and the Townsville Council behind something like this? Because if they're not making plays to be able to try and house someone like Perth, yet Tasmania have put their money where their mouth is really backing an NBL program and doing it so well to be able to get the Jack Jumpers in, then you're probably more likely to play home games there to reward them if the investment's not North Queensland.
It'd be quite a nice sort of, not fairy tale story, but some of the old Townsville players who are associated with Perth and the Hawks at the moment heading back up there. I think the fans would get around it, so it would be pretty cool.
Good team to barrack for if you bring Perth to play home games there.
Yeah, not bad.
Bit of excitement.
You'd take it. You mentioned Tassie, Scott Roth.
Yes.
Lost his mind. He was so pumped.
Lost his what?
I was saying lost his mind. Wrong terminology.
I thought you were going to say something else. He got very excited and
he was pumped after
that
win
though.
over Adelaide.
It's just. You think it's too much?
No, I don't think it's too much. I love it too. But it looks like he's won the grand final, and they had a win over Adelaide, who are also not exactly a high flying team. And so I guess for me it begged the question. What's behind it? Why is he getting so pumped?
Because it's a low budget team. It's their first year. They're trying to build. He's sending a message to his fans of what it means to get a win. Mm-hmm. And behind closed doors, he's trying to rally the troops, give them belief and go, we can do this. They get over the line. Sure, McCarron wasn't playing and, it's not a huge win from the outside, but for them, it sends a message to their community about how important winning is to them and what they're trying to build. I loved it. I thought it was great, but I can understand that you might have thought it was a little...
I loved it too.
But they're not in the championship or playoff mode, so every win for them is just so important and just gives belief to the rest of their group that, okay, we can get this done and let's stay with it.
They also, weirdly, had their first away win ever.
That's not away.
Yesterday.
I'm not putting that as away.
Except it was on their home floor against the Breakers.
No, doesn't count.
I don't think.
Sorry.
Either.
Love your passion, but that's not an away win.
Exactly. There have been some big results. Speaking of Adelaide, who aren't a high-flying team, they had a big win over Melbourne in overtime. What did you make of that?
How do you lose to Tassie and then go beat Melbourne United, who are on an 8-game winning streak? No wonder you're on top of the tipping table because this is just rubbish.
The way they did it is because old mate went 0 for 14. CG 43.
Well, we'll get to that. But, we had to kick the boots into him straight away. It's not even part of his segment right now, and you've just gone straight to Chris Golding. But, the results are all over the place, and it just shows that on any given night, you better come to play or you're going to lose. And, we saw Perth lose to the Kings, who are back on track a little bit now with their imports and everything else. So it's exciting.
What did you make of that? Jaylen Adams had a 30-piece, DJ Vasiljevic back. You think it's down to their time on court?
I really do. And I think the minutes restrictions that the Kings were under would have made it pretty frustrating to coach. But when you see Jaylen Adams, he's living up to the hype before he came. He was a superstar yesterday, 30-something points, whole lot of assists, but made big shots when his team needed it as well. Just so active. And I think, him matching up with Jarrell Martin, that 1-2 combination and a whole lot of other pieces. And there you see Vasiljevic. When you're out for as long as he was, and we talk about it with Klay Thompson, it takes you a month just to be able to find your rhythm. You can see that rhythm starting to get back. It gives them that three-prong attack. And with Cooks, 4 people in double figures.
That game, the atmosphere was pretty incredible. It had just about everything, didn't it?
Well, it did have everything, including a little bit of a fight too. We'll get to that a little bit later too.
We will get to that.
Take that.
Number 5 in our TCL starting 5 says, are Brisbane legit?
No.
No, they are. No.
How are they legit?
I
Who
don't
even
know.
wrote this question?
Dave.
Everyone knows. That's directed Dave. That doesn't count.
They've lost 2 on the trot. The first one to Melbourne United, fair enough, by 2 points. They went down to the Phoenix by 15, who didn't have Joe Chi playing. Lamar Patterson was the only player in double figures, and there are some serious question marks about their other imports. Robert Franks showed so much promise, but I think he's had a couple of single-figure games. He had 2 in that one.
Yeah, if you look at their team, the way it's constructed and their talent, you say they're a top 4 team. But for whatever reason, I don't know whether they need to get Sobey to the 2, let him play his natural game. I think bring in, you imagine them with Jaylen Adams as an import there. Their team's totally different. I think that combination with Sobey as a 2-man, I think that time now is run, and I think that can be part of it. But they've got the talent, but you just don't see them winning the games that they should, considering, what they're putting on the floor.
Yeah, they're certainly still capable. I'm not sure they'll make the 4, but they will probably continue to just push a couple of those teams throughout the season.
They will. They'll have some big upsets where you go, oh my goodness, they just beat Perth again, or they beat this. But then you got to ask, well, why aren't they doing that consistently, and why aren't they beating some of the teams that have half the talent? And why aren't they winning those games?
I think they've got Adelaide and Cairns this week, so perhaps an opportunity to
they should
bounce back. All right, still plenty more to get through. Let's keep things moving. Yes, it is time to go in depth this week, thanks to 2K. And Matthew Dellavedova joins us from Melbourne. Delly, thanks so much for being on the basketball show again. A tough loss for you guys yesterday, but you're 8-3 on the season and really have been flying so far. You must be pretty happy with that.
Thanks for having me. Obviously tough one yesterday to lose in OT versus Adelaide, but we'd had a good run on the road, and definitely looking forward to playing some home games now.
Dally, first of all, congrats about the Boomers. We haven't spoken to you. It was an emotional time sitting in the lounge room watching you guys get that first ever medal, and we appreciate all the sacrifices you've made over the years. So well done on that. But a quick question on the NBL. Like, what do you like about being in the NBL? We know all the pays and the private planes in the NBA, but what's been where you sit back and go, you know what, this is good about the NBL?
I appreciate that, Hammer. You and all the Boomers boys before, laid the groundwork, and we're a big part of that. So thanks to you guys for building it up and passing on the torch to us. And the NBL, I've loved it so far. It's physical, competitive, really enjoyed the team atmosphere at United, great culture in the club, obviously coming off a championship last year. The culture is already there. Everyone's competitive and all about the team. So I've loved that aspect of it so far, and just looking forward to continue to get better as a team as the season goes on.
We've loved seeing you back in the league. Has it been difficult to adjust? Because obviously you're working really closely with Shaylee in the backcourt, really giving players a hard time. You've had a couple of massive scoring performances yourself, which we haven't really seen too much in the past, but it looks like you're really finding your feet and you look like you're enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I am really enjoying it, and I know the NBL and the players here are good players, so I knew it was going to be tough coming in and also playing a different role than I had, for quite a few years. I was going to have to work on different parts of my game, and I feel like they're coming along, and I'm getting more and more comfortable. Being more aggressive, looking to shoot and score the ball, as well as set up my teammates. And I think I'm getting used to the different reads of pick and roll, where people help from, and the type of defenses that teams play in the NBL.
Now, Dally, I feel like I know you pretty well. So with this question, you're going to say, mate, I'm just trying to win a championship. I'm worried about, what's in front of me now in the NBL. But let's get to the point, mate. You're using this. Surely there's going to be offers coming from the NBA. Is that the end goal as well? We know you want to win a championship, but have you had teams reach out, and where are you at, and what's your mindset with a return to the NBA after the NBL season?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of said from the start that my goal is definitely to end up back in the NBA. I feel like I have a lot more to offer and prove back there. And I think, coming to the NBL is the perfect place to work on different aspects of my game, and, having the ball in my hands more, and looking to score and create more. So it's, a great opportunity to do that. I let my agent handle the conversations with the NBA teams, because once the season started, my focus really is just on doing whatever I can to help the team win. And I'm getting a lot of reps in training, going against Shilly, who's one of the best defenders in the league, trying to finish in the paint against Joe and Ariel. So even our trainings against each other are really competitive, and I think that's a great thing about the club. We kind of push each other to get better. So it's been fun, and I feel like my game has got a lot better already since being here.
I think it was Chris Anstey who said recently that the Lakers could really do with someone like yourself at the moment. You obviously won a championship with LeBron. Are you in contact with him at all?
No. I mean, just focus on what we're going to do here, and I think they're going through a tough stretch, but I'm sure he'll figure it out like he usually does.
Well, he should be. That's all I can say, Joe. LeBron needs to wake up to himself and dial Dally. I want to talk Boomers, mate. We spoke before. You must be so excited about the foundation that's been laid, winning a medal. But with some of these young kids coming through that are getting NBA experience now, and mixed with the veterans that you guys have got, it's such an exciting time.
It really is. And I think getting a lot of the younger guys into experience and feel that culture this time around was a lot of the fun, and to see and have them feel that culture and really enjoy it, and see what makes the Boomers special, and have that same excitement that we have, was a lot of the fun of this recent campaign. And then obviously, you got guys that are going to be future Boomers for a long time, like Giddy, Daniels, a lot of young guys coming through. I think it's a great launch pad to, go off and hopefully be able to get a gold medal.
There's been lots of talk about this Boomers WhatsApp group that you guys have got going. How often are you in touch with these young guys? Do they ever ask you for advice, or is it more organic in the way that you guys have those conversations?
In the group chat, there's a bit more banter than anything else, but individually, there's more probably communication in terms of tips or different things to help out with. And I think that's a great thing, is that all the young guys know that they can reach out at any time to anyone else and pick their brain or ask for help or anything like that. Just like as a young guy, I knew I could, reach out to the older boys like Nelly or Dave Anderson or Newell's, guys like that, Joey, Paddy, to ask them as well.
Yeah, it's a special culture, no doubt about that, mate. And happy to see you back in the NBL. I know you're going to go back to the NBA, and I agree with everything you said about sometimes you need to play and just see it and feel it and everything else so you get more confidence. So well done with that, mate.
Very quickly, before we let you go, though, Delly, you've got your first home game, I think, since, the 19th of December this week against Tassie. How pumped are you to be back in front of the United faithful?
I can't wait. I mean, I think we've only had 2 home games so far, and the crowd at John Cain has been awesome. And looking forward to playing in front of packed arena. And I think Tones is performing at halftime, so it's going to be a big one.
How good's that?
Do you know who Tones and I is?
I do. You know why? She's gone around Australia and New South Wales busking in that.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
She's a champion, legend. She loves basketball.
Check out your knowledge.
I've got young kids, young girls. That's why. She's a legend.
Hey, Delly, thank you so much. Good luck for this weekend, the rest of the season, of course, and we'll chat to you again soon.
On you, Delly.
See you guys.
Hey, buddy.
Breaking all the big news in basketball with Matt Logue.
Yes, time for the Lowdown. Maddie, welcome to the show as always. Now, I'm pretty excited for this. The NBAxNBL preseason games are back on the agenda. What can you tell us?
Yeah, guys, great news. Obviously hasn't been on for a couple of years because of COVID, but up to 10 NBA teams have expressed interest, guys, to play against NBL teams in the upcoming preseason later this year. And the big one, most exciting, I think, is that Oklahoma City, I think they'll definitely be there. It'd be great to see Josh Giddey, former NBL Rookie of the Year, coming up against the team in the NBL. And I'll get your guys' thoughts, but it's just exciting, I think, to really get this concept back up and running and hopefully one day see an NBL team win.
Well, exactly. How good was it a couple of years ago? Well, it could. Some of our teams came really close. And I think it's great for NBA fans to see the standard of our NBL clubs seriously go and compete. Having Josh Giddey or Landale and those things, it'll be a long, long time until we ever get an NBA team here in pre-season. But let's get more games going back like we did a few years ago.
Got to start somewhere. Lots of connections as well, not just the players, but on the coaching side of things too. So plenty of good relationships there. Maddie, the 36ers are not happy. Mitch McCarron missed their game against Tassie. They're frustrated, like a lot of people are, you could say, about the SA government, COVID restrictions, I suppose.
Yeah, guys, it is a hard one because there are a lot of people impacted. But basically, Mitch McCarron missed last Friday's game against Tasmania. He was deemed a close contact. And in South Australia, you only need 15 minutes to be deemed one, not 4 hours like the rest of the country. The 36ers are filthy. We've seen earlier this year with test match cricket and players missing test matches because of the different rules. But at the same time, I can understand their frustration in their bubble. I'll get your guys' thoughts, but they believe, the 36ers, that it's just not fair, and they'd like to see it improve, that the South Australian government basically come in line with the rest of the country.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, is I think there's frustrations all over our country that there's no consistent rule nationally. Everyone's different. But if you choose to live in South Australia, then got to abide by their rules. What?
Come on.
What do you mean? What?
Any chance to take a dig at SA?
What do you mean? No, they're their rules. They can make whatever rules they want. It's up to them. But you can't live there and then complain about the rules. What? Welcome in Sydney. You can,
I think Maddie alluded to it. I'm not sure the 36ers have a leg to stand on when the Aussie captain misses a test match and Mitch McCarron misses one game.
If you're going to live there, what? That's it.
All right, let's keep things moving. Maddie, one more. Mikhail McIntosh at the Tassie Jack Jumpers is an import under a bit of pressure, but with all the COVID issues, you've had issues yourself with getting imports out here. Is it just worth them holding on to him and trying their luck for the rest of the season?
Well, at this point, it feels like that, guys. It feels like they're going to just hang on, and there's no real options at the moment that they've indicated. But we can't hide from the fact McIntosh, he's an import forward. He's got to come here and be better, and he's averaged, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 25% from the field. It's not good enough. Scott Roth, Jack Jumpers coach, has publicly said he's under pressure, his job's on the line. But at the moment, and I'm sure Shane could add a lot to this, it's not easy getting imports in the current COVID climate.
Well, the problem is we just don't know who they're comparing it to and what is available. He might be better than what's on the market. I know, when we lost Steph Watts, I had to pick somebody up that had just been cut in Turkey, and there's a reason why you cut somewhere. They're not cutting stars and great people and everything else that are going to add. So she comes in and averages 5 points at 20%. So you have to make up your mind. Are you better off without that person and you give a local a chance? We just don't know what is there for them to compare it to. It's such a unique time in trying to recruit imports at a late stage.
Yeah, especially for a new team in the league as well. Maddie, stick around. We're going to bring in Derek Rucker and go crystal gazing next. As we do every week, it is time to go crystal gazing and bring in former NBL MVP Derek Rucker. D, hello to you. Now, we'll have a quick check of the leaderboard. D, you and I are on top this week, 30. Shane and Matt, 29. And then I've got a sad face next to Director Dave. He's
I want an audit of those. I want an audit of those.
Well, Dave is in charge and he's at the bottom, so it's got to be legit, right?
Okay.
Derek, I'll come to you first. Is New Zealand hosting the Hawks? Can the Breakers get this done, given they were absolutely pumped yesterday?
Yeah, that wasn't a good showing against Tasmania, and they have no chance against Illawarra. At some point, Illawarra is going to get themselves going and play with some venom, and I think this is the start of a big week for them.
Yeah, I think we probably all agree with you there. Hammer, next up, it's Adelaide hosting the Bullets. Who have you got?
Well, you've got to use reverse psychology here, because Adelaide have a good win, or they lose to Tassie, then they have a great win against Melbourne, so you expect them to keep going. They're not going to keep going. This is the sort of win that Brisbane's going to get after they've failed a couple of times, and we write them off. They'll bounce back and they'll get a win here, the Bullets.
They need Robert Franks to step up, that's for sure. Maddie, Tassie and Sydney at MyState Bank Arena. Who have you got to win that one?
Yeah, I think the Kings can go on a bit of a run in the upcoming round. They'll be way too here. Tasmania can't score enough points. And Jaylen Adams is fit and he's showing why he's an MVP candidate if he keeps playing like that. And potentially if the season went a bit longer. But, yeah, Kings will win this one.
Finally, Maddie's given the Kings some respect and seen what we've said from day one. Just waiting to hear it from you too, Joe.
Derek, Brisbane and Cairns. Can the Taipans get this done?
Where's Scott Machado? Anybody seen him? When is he playing again? There's no chance Cairns are getting this game against Brisbane. And I fear that they're going to really struggle once they bring Machado back. They've got to find some rhythm with their full complement of players. Brisbane by an easy 15.
You guys in agreement in that one?
Yep.
All right. I might have to go for the upset then, just
Good.
to
Lock
keep
it in.
things interesting.
Joe's locked it in.
Do it.
That's locked in, Joe. Can't change now.
Hammer, I feel like this one's a bit of a toss of the coin. Phoenix hosting Perth.
It is a flip of the coin. Two quality teams we expect to see at the end of the season in the playoffs. I think Southeast Melbourne, the more games they play, the more they're going to get on a run. And they had 30 days without playing. Very, very tough to be able to come back from. Starting to see some of the quality players gel now. And I think they're going to have a very good weekend, the Phoenix.
Maddie, you don't agree?
No, I think Perth's loss against Sydney was coming. And they've been on the road for a while. They had two tough games against Illawarra. And I think Bryce Cotton and Vic Law, they'll be fired up big time. And I'm concerned that the Phoenix defensively can contain them.
Ooh,
so
that's
it'll be a close one, though.
interesting. Okay, like that. Staying with you, Sydney hosting Adelaide. Are they going to continue the run?
Yeah, I think so. I just, as Shane said earlier, like Adelaide, they're up and down. We don't know what Adelaide we're going to get. Jarrell Martin's been sensational. And this guy, Xavier Cooks, wow, talking about MVP candidate, he's in the conversation. He's just been sensational. And I think this will be a really good weekend for the Kings and maybe a late push for the playoffs.
D, Hammer's looking forward to the halftime show of this one. Melbourne hosting the Jack Jumpers. Who wins?
Easy. Melbourne.
That's
Easy.
it? That's all you got?
That's not even worth conversation. But I would like to see that man right there get himself going a little bit more. Caleb Agata has been down the past 2 or 3 games. We're not sure what's going on. But, if they're going to really blow this competition away, they need him to do something and be an impact guy.
The Jack Jumpers will be lucky to score 65 points in this game. They'll be lucky. If they get it, it'll be just over that.
Ouch. Hammer goes
You didn't watch the
bang.
game yesterday. They can score points, Hammer.
Or they won't against Melbourne United, I can tell you now, mate. Melbourne United are legit. with the way they defend. Yeah. Good luck being able to play against them after they've just come off their first loss in 9 games.
All right, Hammer, finally, it's the Hawks and Phoenix. This is another tight one. It could go either way.
Well, it certainly could. And, I've been waiting for the Hawks to really show what they can do based on the gorge factor. You keep thinking they're going to bounce back. We say, yeah, they'll bounce back against Perth because of Gorge, his philosophies and everything else. But they're not in sync right now. I'm not convinced with some of the combinations that they've got. They've got the talent, but I'm not sure they're going to beat Southeast Melbourne. So I'm going for Phoenix to win 2 this weekend.
D, tell us what you're thinking.
You know what? There's something I don't like about this team, Shane. They have 3 streaky imports. And I think you need somebody who's a stabilizer in there. And that's really tough. And I don't think Gorge has ever had that before. Somebody's going to have to chill a little bit and be the stabilizer and the calming presence on the floor for them.
All righty. Time will tell. Gents, we will check in with the leaderboard next week. Thank you for going crystal gazing. Time for points made thanks to Bet with Joel. D-Ruck still with us as well. Now, guys, we all saw it. Matty Hodgson lashing out at DJ in the Kings win over Perth. D, I'll come to you first. I mean, what did you make of it?
I was really shocked, Joe, and I couldn't believe that people found this somewhat acceptable. They were just watering it down like this wasn't just a despicable act. Look, no hands up from DJ, and he just gets it. And then no remorse the first time. I'm going to come back and get you a second time. Shane, this is not a good look. It was cheap for Matt Hodgson, and I'm a fan of his. He's someone who I like. I like the way he plays. But, boy, this is really bad and a blight on his reputation.
How many weeks?
I said he should get 5 games. Now, keeping in mind you can plead early and get it knocked down to 3, but the league needs to come down hard. Because if this were a grand final situation, it opens up a lot of negative possibilities.
He simply lost his mind. I spoke to DJ after the game and said, what did you say? And it was very little. And I said, geez, I would have copped a lot of smacks in the face, mate, if you get one for that. But he lost his mind. The league will probably give him 1 or 2 weeks. I think it's more 3 or 4. What? I know I'm saying what I think the league will give him is 1 or 2. I don't think that's right. I think it is 3 or 4 for sure. But on past suspensions and things, the thing I didn't understand too was they only gave him 1 unsportsmanlike fouls for 2, hits to the face. Cooks came in to try and break things up, and he got an unsportsmanlike. There was no free throw shot. How does that work?
Yeah, well, you have to talk to your longtime Olympic roomie, Andrew Gaze. He's a stickler for the rules, apparently. I don't know all the rules, but it just didn't seem right. The whole thing was it gave me a bad feeling, and hopefully the league sorts it out. And Matt Hodgson needs to make some type of public apology and show some form of remorse.
Yeah, definitely a brain snap on his part. I thought DJ handled himself really easily by not retaliating. He sort of Chase went in and did that for him. And
that's some real discipline.
You
get smacked in the face like that, and then a second time when you come back, that's some real discipline. And, he's got a bit of go to him as well, but understanding the importance of the game for himself and the team.
No, exactly right. We'll keep things moving. Melbourne obviously went down to Adelaide in overtime. CG43 was 0 for 14. What did you make of the shooting performance, Hammer?
Well, it was funny because I saw someone on Twitter say, I love to see CG 043. Thought that was pretty clever. But 0 for 14, that's nothing. So when I saw this, I went to the great stat man from the NBL and I said, mate, I've had some bad shooting performances. What's mine? So my worst shooting performance. So we can't bag the great man. I went 0 for 4 as a rookie in 1996 as a 17-year-old. And I went 1 for 16 against Melbourne Titans. Jason Smith defending me, Brian Gorgian coach team, I remember. And the only basket I got was a breakaway layup. And I remember it was at the end of the game and I was like, oh, please don't miss this as well. That was my worst performance. But let me go to Derek Rucker. And he doesn't
nobody asked you to go to me. Nobody asked you.
No, come on. I'm here for this.
I'm going to you, mate. I'm going to you. Your worst performances twice. You have had a donut, 0 from 8. 0 from 8 is an import. Come on, mate. Cut it out. And then you've also gone 1 from 9 twice. And we won't mention the, the 4 from 26 and those sort of things because we're just concentrating on the real low numbers of that. What do you think about that, Dee?
Wow, that hurts. And admittedly, there were a couple others that weren't great either. I think I had 2 games where I went 2 for 14 or 2 for 15. So those hurt, and you remember them. But look, I think CG43's cold streak actually started in the second half up here in Brisbane, where he got off to a great start in the first half against the Bullets, and then he went icy down the stretch. I think in the Brisbane game, he was 4 of 16. So, look, he will be feeling that, Shane, as we all do, and wanting to correct himself, and it's a great opportunity to get himself back on track this weekend.
And I think the degree of difficulty that he shoots his shots, there's tough shots. It's easy to go through a stretch like that. And as a shooter, you have to try and get yourself to the free throw line, get a few layups, and then work your way back out. That's how you get yourself out of shooting slump, and he's world class.
No question, he'll be back. He's a straight up shooter. We know that.
He's a gun. You love him, Joe. You love him.
Let's talk NBA now. The Phoenix, they've won. Phoenix have won 9 straight. D, your favourite player, CP3. If he does win a ring, where does he sit in the point guard hierarchy in history?
So this is a big turnaround for me, because for years I was not a CP3 fan, but over the past couple of years, when he's gone to teams that people didn't expect much from and turned them around, he did at OKC, and now he's doing a tremendous job at Phoenix. But where does he rank in the all-time standings point guard wise? I've got him right there with John Stockton. Now, they're both behind Isaiah Thomas, so my hero, Isaiah, Zeke, Thomas. And the difference is, Shane, is they won Isaiah won 2 championships with the Bad Boy Pistons. Now, if CP3 gets the championship, that will elevate him above Stockton in my mind. But look, all 3 of those guys are, 3 of the top 5 point guards of all time. And us being point guards, I'm really interested to hear your opinion.
Well, I think we're splitting hairs, and you're right. And we put so much back on how many championships you've won as well. And I know, Dee, you made a couple of grand finals, didn't win a championship. I was lucky enough to win 1. And I think sometimes it comes down to your situations of the teams you're on. And, if you had played for the Perth Wildcats instead of Ricky Grace, how many championships would you have won? So sometimes it's a little bit unfair just to judge it on that. But all 3 players, they're superstars. And I have come to sort of like CP3 a lot more as well. And the way they're playing with Phoenix is fantastic. So all I can say is he is a legend.
Let me ask you a question, Hammer, because you actually played against John Stockton.
Yes.
Who do you think is the better player, CP3 or John Stockton?
I think in some ways they're alike, and in some ways they're very different. Stockton was an unbelievable passer and an unbelievable defender as well. But CP3 does so many good things to make his team better as well. I think, in some ways they're pretty similar. So hard to split those guys. And I guess that's the natural thing. Who wins a championship probably helps them get over the line.
All right, that is all we've got time for in terms of points made. Thanks to Bet with Joel. Dee, stay with us just very quickly. I want to ask you, Joey Ingles has gone down with a knee injury while we've been recording the show. I know it didn't look good. Did you see it?
I did, Joe. And, he was making one of his great controlled drives on his left hand, and it looks like, I don't know if he slipped but his leg buckled underneath him. It was a very unsettling watch. And, all we can do is just hope for the best for Joe, because, again, this is another strong season for Utah. He's a vital piece for them. And, let's just pray that it's just a couple of weeks. But the early indications are it did not look good, Shane.
I can't watch it, mate. I refused to. Joe did. I said, nah, I'm not watching it. But thoughts out to our man, Joe Ingles.
Exactly right. It was pretty innocuous. He's going for MRI scans tomorrow, so we wish him all the best, and we'll keep everybody updated, of course. Dee, thank you to you. Thank you, everyone, for watching as well. Thanks to TCL, 2K, and Bet with Joel, and we'll be back next week.
Good on you, Joe. Thank you.
Oh, actually, I won't be back next week.
Oh. Okay.
This time next week.
Hey, let us know.
Actually, not next week.
Let us know on Twitter. Who do you want to host it? There's an idea. I just come up with that.
I'm out of here for 6 weeks. So.
Well, you have a good trip.
I'll see you
You're
soon.
going to come back partying hard.
Bye.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.